do all this stuff outside of work?
They can't believe you. You're like Super John.
But like we've just figured out a cadence, right?
Yeah,
Figured
yeah.
out a
You
cadence.
have to develop a rhythm, man.
Yeah, man.
So welcome to another episode of the Unleashing the Future of Work live on podcast with your amazing host, da 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 da, Tim Salau, Mr. Future of Work, CEO of Guide.
Ooh.
And I want to remind you all, this is a Guide podcast. Shout out to the home team, Guide. We are on the marathon, actively building. And today, I want to talk about finding your why. And I have my amazing friend here with me, John Marty, who is probably one of the top LinkedIn top boys, career strategists, all the things that you can imagine. And him and I, we've been working together for quite some time, helping people discover their why, but also break into big tech. Check out breakintobigtech.com if you're interested in starting a career in tech. And given what's going on, John and I have received an overwhelming amount of responses, questions, all kinds of requests around, how do I find my why amidst COVID-19 and now what we're seeing as an economic recession. And today we're really going to break down our Find Your Why framework.
Yeah.
John, last week when we had our first webinar around Find Your Why, let the people know how many people were tuning in.
I think we had like over 200 people tune in. And actually, so I made a big mistake. I am owning it. I made a big mistake and I messed up with the registration link because we were using a new platform because we saw that 700 people registered. Yeah. So Zoom wasn't going to be able to handle our subscription wasn't going to be able to handle the traffic. And so we quickly switched platforms to try to handle the traffic. And it just did not wind up working out. So we had a bunch of people drop off, unfortunately. And I had hundreds of emails that came through afterwards that are like, I couldn't get in. Was it full? And I'm like, oh, God. So anyway, we still had 200 something people show up, and we are going to send the replay out.
So check out and make sure that you are at Bay for the replay. Yeah. Jason Wendell is saying, what's good, Tim and John? Love your webinar last Thursday about this. Thank you, Jason. Man? We are about to do a replay for the LinkedIn folks who didn't make it and missed out. Shout out to our homeboy, Himanshu. What's good, Himanshu? Hope you are well, staying safe and healthy. Talia, hey, y'all. Hey, Talia. I hope you are doing good as well. Jeremy, what's good, man? Jeremy, I actually have to follow up with you. John and I have to follow up with you because we're going to be starting our Patreon community, exclusive Patreon community. John and I are actually doing coaching calls with amazing people who want our support. And Jeremy is one of our Patreon community members. So shout out to Jeremy. And if you're interested in being a part of our exclusive Patreon membership community, reach out to me or John on LinkedIn. So also I want to show love to Elam, who's really excited about what we're about to talk about. So, let's dive deep.
Yeah, let's do it.
So John and I, we've been working in tech for a few years now. And, a lot of people see us doing the things that we do in terms of tech and business and, even LinkedIn. And they think that you kind of get into this path maybe just because of the money or because of the clout.
Yeah.
Or more even importantly, just because, you love the attention. When in reality, the reason why we do any of the things we do has nothing to do with the clout, the status, the following. It really, for me personally, comes down to the community, but then more importantly, even beneath that, our whys.
Yeah.
All right. The fundamental reason why we wake up every single day and do the work that we do.
Yeah.
And we feel motivated, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that is to strengthen the bonds that people share through compassionate action. And I infuse that passion, that why in all of my work, whether it be the work that I'm doing with Guide and our lovely team, and my co-founder Taban, and shout out to Mike Yates, who is also our co-founder as well, or the work that I'm doing with mentors and mentees, the community, as well as the work that I do with John when we kind of fuse our brains together and we help people get into big tech. But the process of going into your why and really kind of figuring out what that is, it takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of work.
It does.
And right now, during these times, it takes a lot of self-isolation.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
So I found my why when I was at UT Austin studying a master's in information studies. And I literally just took one day to lock myself in a library, actually, not even in a room, in a library. And I said, today I'm going to really kind of not necessarily figure out why I exist, but figure out why I want to exist.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
often people think that your why is something that was kind of bestowed to you, like by some sort of
No,
spiritual force. I don't think it is. I think it's
no.
something that you really have to do the painstaking work to figure out and be able to dial in on and describe it for yourself and say, okay, am I happy with this? I
Yeah.
am. So, this lovely day while I was living in Austin, Texas, I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit down and figure out exactly what my why is. Why do I want to exist? Why do I want to like wake up and add value to the world? And really through this exercise of saying, these are my strengths, these are my skills. In
Yeah.
addition to that, these are what people say I'm great at and what people say I suck at. I was able to really kind of clearly outline, you know what? I love building community, but more importantly, the reason why I want to wake up every single day is to strengthen the bonds that people share through compassionate action. And I came
Yeah.
up with a very crisp and clear purpose statement, very short, but it's always been this guiding compass that I use to kind of lead my life, even like nurture my relationships,
Yeah.
and really more importantly, remain focused
Yeah.
and always kind of seeking within. And one thing I love about John ever since we've met is that we've always kind of aligned on what our whys are. And that's why
Yeah.
we work so well together.
Yeah.
John, I would love for you to kind of share, how did you kind of get into figuring out what your why is? Because you read a lot of books and you help a lot of people with it in the work that you do.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I've read hundreds of books on this topic of why discovery, on happiness, on finding meaning, on what makes up a good life. I've read positive psychology, philosophy. Really, like I spent years, and I still do today. I spent years digging in and trying to kind of cultivate like what is that common thread? What is that framework that seems to be the common narrative across a lot of these books that make up the good life, right? That make up happiness, because
Mm.
happiness is kind of this vacuous term in our society. It's like, well, happiness could mean anything, right? Or success could mean anything. And what is it defined as in Western society? And so I think, the impetus for me to really start funneling into those questions was when I was jobless in 2014. And, a lot of people are facing that same scenario right now where they're going through this kind of jobless scenario. And the job is attached to your sense of self-worth, right? The things you own are attached to your sense of self-worth. And when those things go away, which for a lot of people, they will go away now because they will be forced to remove those things to survive. And that's the exact same thing that happened to me in 2014. Like I was forced to get rid of my car, right? Like I had no money in my bank account anymore after being a successful entrepreneur. I had $0, and I was looking at cans of beans and going, okay, this is $1, and this is what I'm going to be eating for lunch for the next couple months because that's what I can afford. And so, when you get down to that essence of I don't have anything, then you start seeking answers. And I think there's going to be a big awakening in this country because a large majority of people are going to be seeking answers, and then they're going to be depressed and trying to figure out what is going on. And I think this message that we're trying to spread about finding your why is more important now than it has ever been in history, at least in the past 100 years, right? Because even in the past 100 years, the Great Depression was 1933. So now we're in 2020, and we're facing a pandemic that is going to explode the jobless rate well beyond the Great Depression from 100 years ago. And so, I think this message of really digging deep and trying to clarify who you are and what you stand for, devoid of the things you own, is critically important.
Yeah, it's critical. It's critical.
Yeah.
So I want to get a kind of a show of hands in our comments. Please comment to the lovely people who are viewing and tuning in all over the world. By the way, show us some love and let us know where are you tuning in from?
Yeah.
Nigeria, the
Yeah.
UK, Singapore,
Right.
Oklahoma. Where you
Oklahoma.
at? Make sure that you show some love to us in the comments. But more
Yeah.
importantly, shout out to Raquel who is tuning in. And I want to get a sense though. My question to you all who is tuning in is, what is your why? Have you figured it out? Do you know what it is? Right? Are you able to really, have you kind of clearly defined a purpose statement for your life? And if you haven't, it's okay. We just want to kind of get a sense of your thoughts in the comments. So make sure that you let us know, what is your why? Do you know? Can you do you know someone that does know their why? Let us know so we can show you some love. Or more importantly, go into giving you our framework for how to determine your why. Yeah. So shout out to Lizzie Ann, who's tuning in from Seattle. Lizzie is an amazing career coach. Shout out to scratch that. She's not even a career coach. She's a career strategist.
Yes.
Shout out to Lizzie, who's a career strategist. She's blowing up on LinkedIn. So make sure you check her out. She's an amazing, phenomenal woman who's doing amazing things to help people find their purpose, but more importantly, figure out what they want from their careers. So show some love to Lizzie Ann in the comments and on her LinkedIn profile. Yeah. Jane is tuning in from Nigeria. Shout out to Nigeria. I'm a Nigeria boy myself, so I can feel you, Jane. I feel you, Jane. Shout out to you. Shout out to Ramona from Cape Town, South Africa. Ramona, you are really tuning in from like across the world.
Yeah,
we're like in
across
Houston.
The world, bro.
Yeah, man. I love LinkedIn, man. There's so much love. Awesome. Jason is thinking about it. So he hasn't figured it out yet. Thinking about it, solving critical talent issues in society and organizations. So that's what Jason is thinking is currently his why. Solving critical talent issues in society and organizations. I like that. I like that.
That's good.
Dean, shout out to my homeboy Dean, who is currently in Oakland right now. He's tuning in from 5 blocks away. So Dean, I'm actually currently in Houston, bro. I'm in Houston, not in Oakland. But the next time I'm in Oakland, you and I gotta hang out, man. I miss you, bro. So shout out to Dean, who is the head of partnerships at TopTal. And make sure you guys check out The Rise of Remote, which is Dean and his friend Paul's awesome live online podcast on LinkedIn, where they're interviewing some of the greatest people in the remote work, future of work, staffing and talent space. So shout out to Dean. He's an awesome guy. So, let's dive deep, right?
Yeah.
So, John, what is our why framework?
Yeah. So I think that, the most commonly known framework is from Simon Sinek.
The Simon Sinek.
The Simon Sinek, right? The biggest sticky phrase that has everybody thinking is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And he phrased that from the standpoint of a company, right? People don't buy what Apple produces, they buy why Apple produces it, right? Like Apple started in the 80s and 90s as the rebellious computer for designers, right? The people who were kind of on the fringe, the misfits, what have you. And so it was an association to an identity, not a set of features that people were drawn to the Apple products for, and they still are today. And that's how every brand is, right? You are associating to the identity, not the features of, an Amazon, streaming service or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that
you're subscribing to a culture.
You're subscribing to a culture. So every, people wear Nike, to subscribe to a culture. People subscribe to a political party, right? And they associate the identity of the political party to themselves, which is why political debates become so heated, because it's not a political party off in the sphere. It is my political party. That's why sporting events, football, basketball, whatever, people refer to the team as my team. It's an association of my own thing, right? Like my identity is tied up into the Denver Broncos or whatever. So when they lose, I feel that sense of loss. It's fascinating concept in our society, how we attach ourselves to these kind of external things. But I think that's the key premise that's often missed with why discovery. And what Tim and I really want to focus on the delivery of this message is that there are societal norms that stop us from understanding what really makes up the good life. And those are foundational to how we operate on a day-to-day basis. We say, well, I want to be successful, and success is tied to money. And if I make more money, I'm going to be, I'm going to be more happy. And if I make more money, I'm going to have more sense of self-worth, because it's ultimately all tied to sense of self-worth. But if you don't consciously have an awareness of that,
Yeah.
that money and happiness are tied 1-to-1 in the
Yeah.
United States or in Western society, then your why statement is going to be misdirected as well, because
Mm.
you believe that happiness is associated to wealth creation. So your why statement is going to be associated to only wealth creation, because wealth creation is the sole defining element of uh, uh, people's self-esteem,
Yeah,
which is terrible.
I'm sure there's someone listening to this and be like, "But money is important." Yes,
Oh yeah,
money is
yeah. Oh
important.
totally.
It's absolutely
We
important.
should dive into that. We should dive into that.
We should dive in. There's nothing wrong with money, but
No.
there is this reality where you want to disassociate your why from
Yeah.
just the material gain or financial gain.
Right.
And I always I every speaking about kind of why living with purpose, they're speaking within the crowd. It's like, but what about people who just have to live to survive? And
Yeah.
the thing is often I think we've kind of embraced this mindset of that we should just live to survive. Like we shouldn't live to be abundant. We shouldn't live to give. We should just live to survive. Like it's okay if you're just living to survive, as
Yeah.
if that's all that we're meant on earth to do. And I don't believe that at all. I think everyone has unbounded potential and
Yeah.
abundant potential to
I
create,
agree.
whatever
I
they want
agree.
in the world. But often when we talk about purpose and finding your why, it's like, but some of us just want to live to survive, which is just saying that what, people shouldn't even have a why.
Yeah.
Which is why I often hate people that say that. So when it comes to like money is okay. Like there's a need for money because money
Of
scales
course.
things, it grows things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a way to exchange value. But what's more important is that you have a more intrinsic belief as to what your why is and why you exist and how
Yeah.
you want to kind of create impact in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I wrestled with this for a long time about like, because this idea of like this idea of like money, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, I shouldn't be chasing the money, right? And you have like these Buddhist principles, right? That are like, well, strive to be striveless,
Mm,
right? You strive to not have any striving, and it's like I don't think that mentality works in Western society. I think we have to strive, but I think the defining line is striving so that um, and that striving is not associated to your sense of self-worth, right? The
mm,
acquisition of your strive is not associated to self-worth, right? That's inherent, right? You should have that already. You should build that already, and the goal should not be attached to your sense of happiness or your sense of self-worth, right? And so
mm.
that's that clear delineation. And then you say, okay, I have plenty of goals, but if I don't reach them, no big deal. I'm still the same guy, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
need that thing to validate who I am. That's the
Mm,
line. So, yeah, I think that's a critical piece. And like you and I, dude, we're very strategic. Like we're
mm.
very strategic.
And
Uh,
agile.
we're very strategic. We're very agile, right? Like
You gotta
we're
be.
yeah, like we teach people how to break into big tech companies, right? So
Yeah.
that they can make great earnings, right? So
Yeah.
that they can make those big six-figure numbers, right? But those numbers shouldn't be attached to who we are. And
Mm,
so I think that's a critical definition that we should focus on. And our why
yeah.
statements are not grounded in money, right?
Mm.
Our why statements are grounded in something that helps others, right?
It,
Uh,
it's funny you say that because so I want to show some love to Dean, who is saying, "Okay, I'm 5 blocks plus 1,722 miles away from you."
right, right, right.
Dean, you're hilarious, man.
That's awesome, man.
So he mentioned Apple, Apple, what you mentioned about Apple, so much so that people are willing to pay $700 for wheels. Apple Pro accessories. It's crazy.
I know.
Nah, Apple's culture and brand value is they've been consistent on what their values are from the
Yeah,
get-go.
the get go.
And because I think it's so embedded in the way of life of how people see Apple and everything they see of Apple.
Yeah,
It's like they're
yeah.
never gonna lose that
No,
culture.
no.
It's so integrated, man. And so
Yeah,
shout
it
out to
is.
Apple for really being successful in what they do. Shout out to Steve Jobs, rest in peace.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
so
That's crazy.
so and is saying being an engaged supporter of one of the larger and oldest generations and their parents, the baby boomers, help will be needed when it comes to downsizing to senior living arrangements.
Mm,
Mm, that's interesting, Ann. Thank
yeah,
you for sharing.
yeah.
Shout out to Kimberly who's tuning in. Raquel mentioned, yes, I've learned my why is helping other students navigate their way through tech and educating individuals on cybersecurity. I found my purpose senior year of college.
That's
Raquel, we
great.
love that. Shout out
That's
to
great.
Raquel, who is a cloud enthusiast, and she is a woman in cybersecurity.
That's awesome,
Go,
Raquel.
Raquel. It's
Yeah,
so great to see women of color who are killing it, Raquel. You're amazing.
absolutely.
And I think shout out to Anne, who, so Anne, is your purpose statement to be an engaged supporter of one of the largest and oldest generations of baby boomers? Is that what your purpose statement is? I wasn't really clear about your comment. So
That's
let us
interesting.
know. Give us,
That's an
yeah.
interesting one.
I think that's an interesting one,
Yeah,
Anne. But
it
you
is.
know, I love that. It's tied to who you are and your identity. So
Yeah.
it is okay. So Kimberly says this connects to Apple's why. It sure does. It
Yeah,
sure
it sure
does,
does.
Kimberly.
That's
It
right.
sure does. All right. Also, for all of the amazing comments, keep them coming and showing love to Lizzie in the comments. It's so great when you all start getting together and showing each other love. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's go back to our framework,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
You know, I want to ask you, you know, who are some people in your life that have really been successful in leveraging our why framework, or some people like, you know, people like Simon Sinek who you think are really living their whys?
Yeah. I mean, you look at somebody like Michael Phelps, right? The famous
Yeah.
swimmer, Michael Phelps. This is a really fascinating example of what he did throughout his career. Now, the interesting thing is, like, he found his talent pretty early on.
Mm.
Right. He found his
Yeah.
talent really, really early on through, just by chance. Right. And then people kind of recognized that talent. That talent got fostered. So he started using his core strengths, right? His natural bodily abilities, right? His wingspan, his height, just his build was perfect for swimming, right? So everybody picked up on that, and he started practicing like crazy. Turns out he used his core strengths to be the top swimmer in the world. Then what happened was, as soon as he jumped out of the Olympics, right, there was this
Yeah.
massive dip in depression that he had, which was public all over the news, right?
Yeah.
He almost committed suicide. He got into some car crashes. There was a bunch of videos of him like doing drugs and stuff. And so he like had this spiral, because what he had not yet connected was the sense of mission of helping others. And you see this in Hollywood all the time. You see this from great sports stars, right? It's about they're using their core strengths, but then as soon as their career is up, right? As soon
Yeah.
as that Hollywood career is done, right? Then they're lost. They're totally lost, because they haven't connected it to a sense of helping others. They haven't actually connected the dots. And as soon as they do, then their lives turn around. You hear all these stories about people turning their lives around, right? Finding meaning through a bunch of different scenarios, right? But the meaning that they felt was through helping others, and then they get their lives on track. So that's repeated throughout history, right? You see that for people who kind of rise and fall, that are public figures all the time.
You know, it's so funny you say that, because it's in similar fashion. I think about Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
Right, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, people see what all of the amazing things that she accomplished today, but I mean, they don't realize that a few years, like years and years ago,
years and years.
Oprah literally was fired from her first job,
right?
because
there's videos,
she didn't.
there's videos of her. There's videos of her in
Yeah.
the 80s. That people saying, "Oh, like, you're crazy. Why do you want to do this?" And she's like, "Well, I just want to, change the world. I just want to, you know."
Yeah. And she was fired, right?
Yeah.
And it was because one, that job wasn't for her with the media company, but she had to go through this transformation of saying, okay, this is really what I want to do with my platform, or even the platform I was trying to create at the time, and this is what I wanted to stand for. And I think one of the things I've loved about kind of her story and biography is that she's been really consistent in like this mindset about how do you create abundance. And one of the things I love about, as a technologist personally, and looking at everything that's going on right now in the future of workspace, in terms of, even though there's a lot of sad things going on in terms of companies furloughing people and letting people go. But I really do believe, like, 2020 and onward, we're actually entering and pushing towards an era of abundance, where that, people can share the pie. There will be opportunity for people online, remote, whatever type of job opportunities, and there's going to be more. There's not going to be less. There's going to be more, because the reality is that technology creates opportunity. It creates jobs, right? And I think right now we're kind of going through this metamorphosis as a society where we have to kind of recalibrate and be more mindful of what matters, right?
Yeah.
And I think I hope most organizations will see that their people and their talent are the greatest assets that they have, and they'll hopefully treat them correct through this transformational period. And the organizations that don't, they're just going to lose out on talent, and that talent is going to go elsewhere, I believe. But more importantly, within all of, within everything, all of the moving parts of what's going on, I'm hoping organizations find their why, and I'm hoping people find their why, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the best talent succeed within organizations where there's an alignment between why you want to come to work, why you, what that organization, that company is doing for their customers, right?
Yeah.
When you have that fit, you feel more fulfilled in the work that you do. And sometimes it's going through a metamorphosis as the one that we're going through in the world, where you kind of like question, what is it that I want to do beyond just going into a 9-to-5, right? And we're already seeing that, a lot of people are thinking about, in this remote first world now, and I don't think it's going to be remote for the most part long term. I think it's going to be more flexible in nature. How can I make sure I'm aligning the work that I do, the value that I'm creating, to work with a company that I feel as it will fulfill me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a question everyone should be asking right now, with everything going on, with all of this quiet time that we have.
Yeah.
So I want to show love to all of the people who are viewing in and tuning in. Shout out to Elam. Yes, that's a good one, Tim. What matters? That's key to engaging more intentionally. True that. Jason saying it's all comes down to talent. Preach, Tim. Appreciate you, Jason, for the love. What do you feel about that, John? Do you think talent is the most essential asset for companies?
I think the most essential asset for companies is the alignment with the mission of the organization first, and then talent. I think like mission of the organization matters a lot. And a lot of companies have trouble defining what their mission is. And so, because they do so many different things, but
that's true.
But I think if like, sometimes I think, because I used to work in American Express, and I was like, I often think about how if American Express, if their core mission was some crazy, massive mission to transform poverty around the world, right? Like some outrageous moonshot type of idea, right?
Yeah.
And like nobody even knew them as a credit card company. I think that they would be 10x more successful than they are today.
Wow.
Because like people just know them as like, oh, well, it's finance and technology, and here's our mission, finance and technology. And like the CEO leads with like, well, here's our quarterly results and all this thing. And like, yes, a public company needs to lead with those things, because those are very important. But if the actual conversation from the CEOs were like, here's our actual mission, like here's who we're trying to help, I think it would just cause a massive awakening, man. And it's funny too, like with that type of mission, people would join an organization like that and be like, dude, that mission is so powerful that I'd be willing to take less money. I'd be willing to work harder, and like if every quarterly result had a sub element of like, well, that quarterly result resulted in 20 million people getting fed this month or something, right? Like, which is the core. I don't know. I often think about that, man, how I think the missions of these organizations are going to need to be a hell of a lot more clear, and a hell of a lot more impactful for like realness. Because like right now it's like, okay, yeah, we sold X number of widgets. Great. I don't know.
That's it. No, I love that you mentioned that, man. Having a clear mission alignment or mission statement is so important, man. It's even for us with Guide, it's equip creators with the skills, mindset, and opportunities for a successful career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom. But
It's
and
clear.
it has to be specific and simple, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
It's clear.
for me, when I'm onboarding people or I'm telling people or I'm pitching people on what God is, it's like this is our mission. And then the what, obviously, we're using software to build that, like
Yeah.
to further that mission. But I love that. I love that you said that, John, because I think sometimes you go into a new job or you
Yeah.
switch jobs and you're like, what is y'all's mission again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm in this role, but you all aren't even eating what you all are selling, right? Like you guys
No.
don't even live this mission. It's
Yeah.
just more so about the
Yeah.
what we're building. It's not about why we're building it. And I've
Right.
definitely been in work environments that don't live their mission. So
But
I
is it?
agree with that.
But isn't that funny though, man? Like it ties back to Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. But
Yeah.
so that message actually spans internally from an employee engagement perspective. It spans
Yep.
externally from shareholders. It spans to our personal scenarios, right? Like it's like it connects with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. So let's go back to showing love to amazing viewers who are tuning in right now. Shout out to Renee. Once you tap into helping others, you live a much more fuller life.
Yeah,
Preach that, Mrs. Knight.
for
It is
sure.
so true. She also says, living your why isn't about financial success.
No,
It's
not at
about
all.
living your best life.
Yeah.
Shout out to Renee. I love that. And Renee is a facial care coach, which is
Oh,
super
crazy.
cool. So
Okay.
check her out on LinkedIn. Ramona is saying, I thought I knew my why, but after this pandemic, I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Ramona, talk to us a little bit about that. What's going on? Why don't you
Yeah.
feel as if you know your why? And what about this pandemic has caused you to doubt what your why is? Let
Yeah.
us
That'd
know
be
and we'll support
fascinating
you.
to hear from you on that
Yeah.
topic. Yeah. We
Yeah.
dig into
So
that a little bit further.
let's dig into that. Shout out to Tayo, who's showing John love.
Yeah.
Tayo says your hat is fire, bro.
Thank you. Thank you. Love it. Gotta have some good
So
weather.
yeah. So shout out to Perenita, who says, does the break into big tech course work for software developers trying to get into technical positions? Great question, Mrs.
Great
Patel.
question.
It does not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're actually really focused on non-technical professionals
That's
who
right.
want to get into tech and they don't necessarily have the technical skills. And we're really helping them get into non-technical roles in tech, such as product marketing, customer success, sales, operations,
Product
program manager,
management, program
all
management.
of those different roles.
Yeah.
But we will support you if you're interested in just understanding how do you map your skills to a non-technical job, Perenita.
Yeah.
So shout out to Perenita for mentioning our Break Into Big Tech course.
Yeah.
Breakintobigtech.com is where you can find out more information about our Break Into Big Tech course,
Yeah.
as well as learn from the amazing students in our past cohort who went through our course and loved it
Yeah.
and are now doing incredible things on LinkedIn as well as in their careers. So shout out to Perenita for showing our Break Into Big Tech course some love. So Jason mentioned Charity Water is doing that in New York City by providing clean drinking water across Africa. Amazing company to work for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Perenita says more details on Patreon. So we will definitely share our Patreon link so you can join our Patreon community, Perenita. We'll definitely do that in the comments after this live stream. Shout out to Jane, who says, I'm not sure anymore what my why is because sometimes I really want to do something. And other times I feel like I'm doing it because of the pay. John, how does Jane kind of like push through this, right?
Yeah.
Like this feeling that she's just doing the work for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. So doing work for the money is not a bad thing. There's a short-term strategy, right? Like making good money, and everybody has to be in that position, right? You have to support a family, a lot of different things going on in your lives, especially now. So that's critical. But there's a defining question, like what would you do right now? What would you do right now if money was no object? Right? And how does it help other people? Because if you could fundamentally answer that question, and it's tied to your personal story, like what has deeply impacted you in your life, and what would you do now that relates to that deeply impactful story that has nothing to do with money at all? And if you can actually, most people can kind of like quickly say like, shit, I would be a gardener or something, right? Like some random thing that is some random thing that's totally disconnected from their day job, right? And then it's like, okay, well, what elements of that? Because I still need to be making money, right? I still need to be like doing this. What elements of gardening, right, or whatever that thing is, that side project is, can I foster at work? Because there are elements, right, that you could foster at work, right, that you could cultivate a sense of more joy, right? Because honestly, at the end of the day, it winds up becoming a mindset, right? You believe that you're doing mind-numbing work because you've been told that you told yourself that you're doing mind-numbing work. And this is a prime example for me. Like when I was working at Best Buy for $12 an hour in 2014, I could have looked at my job as like, this is the shittiest job in the world, because like I was down and out. But instead I went to work and I was like, I actually really love my colleagues. I really love coming to work. I love helping people, right? So I still connected it to a sense of purpose, even though I was making $12 an hour, right? So it's a mindset shift. I think that can really help you. But there's also like Tim and I, we both pursue numerous passions, right? So we have our Breaking to Big Tech. We teach why discovery, right? Tim has Guide. I work at Amazon, right? So we play in numerous buckets, and each one of those buckets fulfill different elements for us. So we work extremely hard, but we love every piece that we do. And I think if you find that your why is super disconnected from the money that you're making, like totally disconnected from what you really want to do, devoid of money as a primary foundational concept, then I would say, okay, well, if that thing is going to make me happy, I should just do it anyway on the side because it's going to bring me joy, devoid of money. So might as well start, right? And that's how Tim and I started doing YouTube. That's how Tim and I started doing these podcasts. That was the spring. That was the well that we tapped into for everything that we started. And that's why we've been successful, because we didn't care about success in the first place. And that's the beauty.
And I think that's mind-boggling for people to care. Like to kind of hear, it's like, wait, you guys didn't have like goals and metrics and stuff planted on the wall on how much you'll achieve and all of this. No. And I think even as someone that's building a startup with an amazing co-founder and my co-founder Taman, it's like you don't build stuff, right? Or you don't do things, right? In terms of whether it be in the work that I'm doing with Guide or the work John and I are doing and all the things that we're building, people build because it's fulfilling. Yeah. They don't like if no one that's building anything. No. Microsoft, I mean, Bill Gates didn't build Microsoft just for the money.
No, totally
like if you read Bill Gates' books and you actually just watch anything that he's on, he loves engineering. He's like a technology purist. Yeah. Like he's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
You gotta build things because you're obsessed about the problem. John and I are obsessed that people don't know their why and they hate their jobs. Yeah. My co-founder Taban and I, we're obsessed that people can't learn the skills to be successful in their careers, and that talent isn't given the opportunity to shine and learn and grow within companies. You have to be obsessed about the problem in order to be successful.
That's right.
John, so people were loving what you were saying, bro. Renee saying, one, she coaches people from the feet up. I love that.
Yeah.
Elam is saying, with the avalanche of information all around us, what do y'all think are some of the things that extinguish, dim, misdirect our why? John, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, the main thing that misdirects our why is that the societal definition of success. Yeah. That's it. The main thing, because there is not a conscious awareness that we tie success to happiness. And success as a word is an empty concept which gets injected by a societal definition of, if I make more money, then I become worth more from my self-esteem perspective. So like, look at, like, it's so crazy. Like college students, the very first thing they do is when they come out of college, they say, oh, I want to be successful. What does that mean? Right? Since they don't define it for themselves because they just inherently subconsciously follow the definition that society has set forth, which is success means
it's a new Lambo.
Right. New Lambo, right? Success means being rich, because that's the definition of success in the dictionary, right?
Yeah.
Being financially well off, right? Yeah. So being rich is of direct correlation to the word happiness. And if I'm not rich, then I have less self-worth. So it all ties to one fundamental concept, self-worth.
Mm.
Right. And so if you say, it is the most ridiculous, stupid thing that I've ever thought of when you actually consciously think about it. So you mean to tell me that the more money I make, the more self-worth I'm supposed to have? Like that's some bullshit, right? Like if you really think about that, then you go, well, that's stupid as shit. So no, I don't subscribe to that at all. Like I have enough self-worth. And you go, well, damn, like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders now. I could pursue goals, and if I fail or if I don't fail, fine. But if they were all attached to that word money, 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 then like you're always going to be clawing at something that you feel like you're never going to be able to attain. And that's why I think there's so much anxiety in our country.
Powerful answer from a powerful man. Elon is like, dang, I needed to hear that.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Renee is saying money is important, but it won't fulfill you if you aren't doing something that you love.
That's
Amen, right. Renee. Speaking Mrs. Knight. Yeah. Mrs. Knight is preaching in the comments. Definitely follow Mrs. Knight. She is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, man. If money isn't Kart Ikeyan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is a senior product manager at Teradata. If money isn't a problem, I would be starting a school to help shape up our future world. Start that school now.
Dude, yeah,
what? Kart, what's stopping you? Start that school now. What? I mean, start an online school. That's free. Yeah. You don't even have to pay for a building.
It's so funny. It's so funny, man. Like people just kind of have these like if-then statements for everything.
Yeah,
like as if you have to qualify it with something. It's like, well, if money was no object and that brings you fulfillment, just do it. That's what Tim and I do. That is what we preach. Like we're so passionate about that. Just do what you want to do. And if you got your day job, then fine. Like keep your day job going. Instead of watching Netflix for 8 hours a day, which is the statistical average per person in the United States now.
8 hours a day?
8 hours per day is what people are watching Netflix per day on average. That article,
wow.
Yeah, that article came out a few days ago. Now maybe it's like passive listening in the background while people are at work, kids and things like that. But even if you're watching like 2 or 3 hours a day, dude, like I don't watch TV.
Me either, bro.
I haven't watched TV in years, dude. I don't even like, I have a TV and I've never turned it on.
Wow.
So like, but that's what, dude, you and I at night, I'll text you at 11:30 or midnight. I'll text you, and I know, and I
definitely text me at midnight, yo.
And I know you're working, bro. I know you're working because like every night, that's because he knows I'm working, so he texts me at midnight, and I'll be laying in bed, and I'm writing posts, and I'm creating. My mind is like, oh, dude, this thing, that thing. I gotta hit Tim up, like, dude, you have from 5 p.m. until midnight to do whatever you want to do. That's a whole working day from 5 p.m. to midnight. So open your school.
Open your school,
bro.
Open your school, man. Make it an online school. Yeah. I think this is, and I agree with John 100%. There's nothing holding you back. Don't even pay for a school building because people, even schools with school buildings are like, why do we even have a building right now, right? Yeah. And I think in our next normal, I think we're gonna see a majority of education being delivered through online formats.
Yeah.
So, Karth, I think this is the perfect opportunity for you as a product manager. Just create a website, create a Slack community, and just start having people come in and educate them on product management, whatever it is. Like what does the MVP look like, Karth?
Yeah.
What does the MVP look like? And then iterate from there. So shout out to Karth with that lovely comment.
Yeah, love that.
Lizzie's saying true statement. Tim works all the time.
Sure, man. Tim is hustling.
Literally, I am always. Well, I'm not always working. I'm mindfully working.
Always working.
But I mindfully work. But more importantly, I work around my schedule.
But we love it
and my creative. Like I think. And here's the thing, because a lot of people try to like bash people who work hard but also have fun. Don't bash people who work hard and have fun. People who are working hard and having fun are fulfilled in the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't overwork myself. And if I ever feel like I'm overworking myself, I go back to my meditative state. I find time to create relief and self-care.
Take a
You
break.
are in control of how hard you work, how hard you don't work, and more importantly, how you create that harmony within your life. So
100%.
don't bash people who love to work hard and are fulfilled in the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Find out the best creative time and balance for you, because every single person is different. So that's something that I always encourage people to do. And shout out to Lizzie, who works incredibly hard and all of the great work that she's doing. Check her out on LinkedIn. And thank you so much, Lizzie, for that amazing statement. Kimberly is saying, what are you doing with your time? I am working on being the best me to serve others. Kimberly is amazing, and she's someone that's also a part of our Break Into Big Tech course. Thank you so much, Kimberly. What are you doing with your time, right? I think that's a great question for us to leave the audience with today, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing with your time? John, what are you doing with your time, man?
Do you guys want to know a little secret? You guys want to know a little secret what I do with my time?
What's the secret, bro?
So during work meetings, I actually will do my workouts. I do, so like I'll literally have this headset on and I put myself on mute. And I'll be doing push-ups and squats and everything because if I'm not needed in the meeting, I look at every efficiency. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, all right, I got 30 minutes total idle time while everybody's just chatting away, and this is totally meaningless conversation for me. I'm gonna work out. But that's how I literally that's my philosophy for life, man. I literally look at everything as an efficiency. It's either a time waster or a time drain. I'm like, okay, so this is totally pointless. I'm gonna work on this other thing on the side. Or I have 2 hours. What am I gonna get done?
Yeah, dude, I freaking love you, John. That is amazing. So shout out to John, who works out during meetings. This is the next normal for everyone that's a remote worker. So Peronita says suggestions on how to create a personal brand. Peronita, that's a lovely comment. You can find out more about that in our Break Into Big Tech course. Check out breakintobigtech.com. We truly actually support you in that, whether you're technical or you're non-technical professional. But I love that question, Peronita. Thank you for showing us love.
And Peronita, it's simple as there's just a couple little things. Personal story, your top personal story that you have that's either been painful or positive, right? Whatever has affected you the most in your life, right? You just kind of square away on one. Most people kind of think of that off the top of their head. You connect that personal story to your key strengths, right? 1 or 2 key strengths. What do you love doing? What are you energized by, right? And then it's a simple framework. You have your problem statement that is attached to your personal story. Most people go through life doing this and this and this. I'm on a mission to solve it. How are you on a mission to solve it, right? How can you help, right? And what's the result, right? So it's a problem statement. So most people are going through things that I went through when I was struggling. I'm on a mission to solve that so that something happens. What's the end result, right? That's the bottom line.
And lastly, consistency. A big part of personal branding is consistency. And that's the part that people often forget.
Oh, man.
That you have to bring it every single day if you want to really cultivate a positive personal brand, but also make sure that you're top of mind when it comes to opportunities.
Absolutely.
So shout out to you for asking that question, Peronita. You are a phenomenal woman who's going to do phenomenal things with her personal brand in the future. We believe in you. So shout out to Elam, who's saying, aha, I love that, John. You're making the best of everything and every moment you have.
Try, man. Try.
Eric says, have you guys launched the second round of your course already? Eric, we're about to, man.
That's a great question, man. May 6th. May 6th.
May 6th, we're launching it. And, we only have a few more slots available. So make sure you go to breakintobigtech.com to be a part of our next cohort.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Did Tim lose? I think Tim dropped off. Well, I have no idea who's commenting. We'll see if he joins back. But what he was saying was be sure to check out Break Into Big Tech. Let's see. He's back. He's coming back. You back? Whoa, bro. You're back.
My camera just stopped. I was like, what in the world is going on?
I was like, what do I do without my co-host?
Dude, my setup just messed up. That was weird.
No, you're back. You're back.
But you can hear me though, right?
Yeah, no, we hear you, man. So you were just saying Break Into Big Tech. Be sure to check it out. That was it, man.
So be sure to check out breakintobigtech.com.
Yeah.
Also, our man says you got to write about avoiding losing time and do something productive when some free time pops up. Shout out to Andrea.
Totally, man.
And Renee was like, "Uh-oh," when I broke off.
Yeah.
And Jane was saying, "Wow, I have learned a lot, and I think it's now becoming clearer." Thank you both for this. Thank you, Jane, for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
I think the question that we want to leave you all with today is, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
I think that's a powerful question. What are you doing with your time? I know what John and I are doing with our time.
We got a book coming out.
I know what I'm doing with my time. What are you doing with your time? Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's a powerful question for you to ask. And I think lastly, John, let's summarize our why framework once again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the very first thing is kind of disrupting thinking through societal norms, right? Like what is really success to you? Like being consciously aware of what success and what happiness is to you, and recognizing that it is truly different for everybody. And then also recognizing that positive psychologists and ancient societies have viewed those concepts, like what is the good life, through the lens of using your strengths towards helping others. And so if you can kind of combine those things and say, okay, cool, so that's the actual framework for that, then the next thing is digging into your personal story and understanding, like, where have I struggled? Where have I persevered? And how can I apply that perseverance, the things I've learned, towards other people? That could be through a company that you work for. That could be through an entrepreneurial venture. So essentially, it's attaching the problem statement, kind of like taking the problem statement and extrapolating it out to a general statement, right? Like, I've had this problem, and then you extrapolate it out as most people go through this, right? Or people like me have gone through this. I'm on a mission to solve it. Yeah. Right? That's gonna be mission. I'm on a mission to solve it, so that they overcome that struggle, that problem as well. And it ultimately all has to be funneled through the lens of how does it help people with the most passionate thing that I would have, that I could give back, that has nothing to do with money at all, right? Because everything is funneled through that lens. If it has nothing to do with money at all, then you're going to find the authentic thing for you. And interestingly, the authentic thing for you, as much as we try to suppress it in corporate America with resume bullet points, the authentic thing for you is the thing that is actually going to truly make you fulfilled, because everything comes down to one word, which is meaning. What brings you the most meaning? So I think that's a key takeaway of this thing. Not happiness as a word, not success as a word, but meaning. And meaning is attached to story, personal story.
I love it. Meaning is attached to personal story. Make sure that you write that down. And most importantly, what we want you to do after this live podcast is ask yourself, what are you doing with your time? Yeah. Because if you're doing with your time something that's meaningful and is leading to fulfillment, you will cherish every single moment that you have, and it won't feel as if you're wasting your time.
Not at all.
At all. With that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in for another episode of Unleashing the Future of Work, a guide podcast with your boy Tim Salau and my lovely on and off guest John Marty. Make sure you check him out on LinkedIn, and make sure you reach out to us if you're interested in being a part of our Break Into Big Tech cohort, which is coming up next. Check out breakintobigtech.com. Shout out to our boy Sad.
Oh, Sad, what's up, man? What's up?
Sad, what's up? Why did I say Sad? It's Sad. Shout out to our boy Sad, who is saying we're always adding deep value. You're awesome, Sad. Appreciate you, brother. And more importantly, if you're interested in being a guest or sponsoring the Unleashing the Future of Work live online podcast, go to utfow.com. utfow.com. If you're interested in being a guest and sponsor, we have episodes every weekday around 12 to 12:50 p.m. Every weekday, 12 to 12:50 p.m. Make sure that you check out utfow.com if you want to be a guest or sponsor. Yeah. Much love to you all in our Unleashing the Future of Work community. Shout out to Renee, shout out to Saad, shout out to Rahul, shout out to everyone who commented and showed us love today in this podcast episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to find your purpose, determine your why, and ask yourself, what are you doing with your time? All right, y'all. Peace.
Love you guys. We'll see you.